Hello, Seth Peterson here, talking about step 4 of the buying process, submitting an offer. So you've looked at a few or maybe a lot of homes by now, and you found one that you love. You got to have this house. So it's time to write an offer. So obviously you're going to contact your realtor and they're going to go through this whole process with you. But what happens is you're going to be writing an offer, and it's on a state-approved form. So in Wisconsin, for a single-family home, it's the WB11. And in this video, I'll just go over the 5 main elements to an offer. So the first of which would be the real estate condition report. And that's something the seller is legally obligated to complete, and it's them telling you about the problems and defects that they know of for the property. So you definitely want to take a look at that before writing an offer, because it might affect the price or the terms of the offer itself. Secondly, the big thing we all think about is purchase price. So obviously you're going to have to decide on what you want to offer in terms of price. Your realtor can really help with that and give some advice. They can look at the market, what has sold in the neighborhood recently and what similar homes have sold, and try and figure out what a fair price would be. You can talk about how long that house has been on the market and different strategies, but ultimately you can decide on what you want to offer for the price. The third element would be earnest money. So this is just something that's showing that you're serious about the house. Basically, if you were to walk away for no good reason, you're probably going to lose that money. So it's just you putting some skin in the game, showing that you're serious about the house. So the money does go towards your purchase if you actually close. So it's not just a waste of money. And it's not directly to the seller. It's held by a third party. Usually the listing broker has a trust account where the money is being held. So that's earnest money. You're going to pay it typically right away within a couple of days of the accepted offer. And typically it's maybe somewhere around 1% of the purchase price. Certainly a negotiable item, could be anything. But 1% of the purchase price is maybe a gauge to kind of get in the area of what's typical. So the next element to the offer would be the closing date. So you're going to specify what closing date you want, and honestly you could close anytime before that date. The contract says just no later than that date would be when you need to close that transaction. So if you did want to close later, then you and the seller would have to agree and amend the contract at some point. And then the last element that I want to talk about is just contingencies in general. So there's a few of them that are very common, and I'm actually going to talk about those later in this buying process. And those would be the inspection contingency and the financing and appraisal contingencies. So those are very typical. Most buyers are going to have all 3 of those contingencies. They're on the WB11 form, where you just check the box and fill in a couple of blanks. So those are very common, but really you could have as many contingencies as you want. You could write up, you make up your own contingency. There are other kind of typical ones that are used from time to time. For example, well and septic. If you want to inspect a well and septic, there's a pre-written contingencies for that. So there could be a lot, or maybe you just have a couple, but most offers are going to have at least a couple of contingencies. So those are kind of the main elements of an offer, and you're going to submit this offer to the seller, and they might accept it right away, or they might counter, and you may have a negotiation, a back and forth, countering back and forth, changing the price and changing some of the terms. But hopefully you get an accepted offer. And that's what the next video is going to be about. So I will see you then.